How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with The Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about The Unnamable from 1988. This is directed by Jean-Paul Ouellette and stars Charles King, Mark Kinsey, Stephenson, Alexandra, Durrell. And this is based on a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. Now, before we get in, a little bit of my weird history with this movie is I go down to the used movie shops. That's how I can buy a lot of my movies so quickly. They're a lot cheaper there. And I would always browse through all these movies, and what I kept seeing when I was looking through the movies was this one, Unnamable 2, and it says it's from H.P. Lovecraft, and I was like, that sounds cool. I always was, this thing really struck my eye, you know, this big 2 with the monster through it. I really liked this cover, and I really wanted to see this movie, but I wasn't going to watch it before I saw Unnamable 1, and I would go to several different used movie stores. All the time I would find Unnamable 2, Unnamable 2. It was everywhere. This is a super easy to find DVD, but I never found Unnamable 1, and it got to the point where I had to look it up to see if there was an Unnamable 1, because I thought maybe the 2 is some sort of weird stylistic title. Sometimes movies put numbers after them even when it's not a sequel, but no, I looked it up and there was an Unnamable 1. So I had been going to used movie stores for years wondering about this movie, and I'd never seen it in any used movie store until quite recently it popped up, and I was like, wow, it's real. There's the first one. Actually, this Blu-ray I have, it's from a company called Unearthed Classics, and quite fittingly, if you look at the spine, this is number 1. So, a company called Unearthed Classics, this is literally the first one. It quite literally feels like they're unearthing it. I'd been looking for this movie forever, so I'm glad to finally watch and review it. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I do want to give you guys a basic understanding what this movie's about and say my piece on a few plot points, but nothing major. So anyway, it opens up with this guy, and his daughter is for some reason very monstrous and evil. He has her all locked up, but she gets out and kills him. This results in later the police and the church coming to investigate and not really knowing why he's dead, but the priest senses something evil and he bounds the evil inside the house so it can't leave. So the monstrous daughter is now trapped forever inside this house. Now, you cut to the future, and there's a bunch of college kids debating, and you get to meet your 2 main college kids who are English literature and writing students. One of them is Howard, who's your kind of more point of view character, and the other is Randolph Carter, who was actually in a ton of H.P. Lovecraft stories. However, I think this and The Unnamable 2 are the only movies that he actually appears in. It's kind of odd that out of all the H.P. Lovecraft movies, you don't see much more of this guy. But yeah, Randolph Carter, a big H.P. Lovecraft character, they're debating with this other kid who's a science major, and Carter, being a literary person, is saying that yes, there could be something so fantastic and unimaginable that human words could only describe it as unnamable. And the science major says, well, certainly through some aspect of measurement, any and all matter in the universe can be described, and they're debating whether anything can actually be unnamable, when one of his examples he uses is the story from the prologue, And he's like, okay, if that's real, show me the house. And he says, why, the house is right over there. They're actually having this debate right by it. To which the science major says, fine, I'll stay a night in this house and surely nothing spooky will happen. Well, Howard and Carter go back to the university where they meet this girl that Howard has a crush on. They had been on a date, but she won't tell him why. She doesn't want to go on another one. And he really likes her, but he's frustrated. He doesn't know why he's been dumped. And it turns out that he doesn't have enough social standing for her. She wants to climb the social ladder, so it really had no fault of his own. But he's still wondering, what did I do? Poor guy. And to add on top of that, the girl's friend, this European girl, really does like him. And he's completely oblivious to that. So, poor Howard there. But anyway, the girls later meet up with these guys who are a member of a fraternity. Big social standing, which the girl that he went out with really likes that. And they say, hey, we're setting up for this party at this old house, which just so happens to be the house from earlier. Do you want to go down and help us take a look at the house and plan the party? Now, it's quite obvious that that's not really what they want to do. They want to get with these girls, and that sends them on the course into the haunted house. Well, Howard goes up to Carter and says, hey, there's some people that the science major is supposed to talk to. He never showed up. I'm really worried about him, which finally convinces Carter to go to the haunted house with him. And the two of them set course to the haunted house at the same time the girls and these two other fraternity guys are going there as well, which is where they're going to meet and where crazy monster shenanigans are going to happen. So let's go ahead and go on with the pros of this movie. And one is kind of a weird thing with this movie's plot, is this is a very simple story structure. You know, I explained how the people got there, and from there it's just basically fun monster chaos in a haunted house, and it's a very, very simple plot, yet somehow it doesn't get boring, even though it really is simple. And hey, we don't necessarily need big, crazy, convoluted ideas. Put the kids in the haunted house with the big monster, and it works. I have to say that's pretty good that it, kept the pacing up despite not having a huge plot. Also, the monster in this one is really cool. This cool grayskin monster, you don't get to see it right away. They're saving it up. I mean, it's supposed to be unnameable. You have to build to it. And it's killing people with nothing but her bare hands. And while, having only one way to kill people in some cases could be repetitive, they do find fun and crazy ways to kill people. Tearing off a head, and hanging the guy upside down, or repeatedly smashing one guy's head into the floorboards. They get lots of traction, even though, there's not a ton of crazy things to do in this house. They come up with some creative ways for this monster to attack people, and that's pretty fun. Like I said, it does a lot with very little. Also, it's kind of fun. This is a female monster. You don't get too many female monsters. You don't get too many female creature features. Usually when you get female killers in a horror movie, they usually are like femme fatales and they try to play off the femininity. But this is a female straight-up monster, allowing her to be monstrous, to smash people with her bare hands. And it's a type of character you don't really get to see too often. And plus her cool design, the gray skin. There's another H.P. Lovecraft movie, Castle Freak, based on, I think it's The Outsider, which they don't really advertise that it's a Lovecraft movie too much. But I feel like these two characters would probably be really good friends. Not just the similar design from the makeup artist, but they're both kind of shut away in the corner of a haunted place. And I feel like this would be a fun pairing for Castle Freak, although that movie's a lot more serious than this one. But anyway, in addition to that, you get some other really cool stuff. Like I said, Randolph Carter is a character that has really been under-adapted, and I think people probably clue into that, and you'll probably get a bunch of stuff with him later. But he's really cool, really, into his certain little things and can be kind of aloof socially. But later he actually finds the Necronomicon, and I realize why the Necronomicon does appear in a ton of H.P. Lovecraft stuff. It's very rare to see someone try to use it, and even rarer so to see someone use it competently. It's usually a exposition book, but you actually get to see someone use the Necronomicon competently, and that was really cool to see him wielding the Necronomicon. That was really great. Also in regards to this being a Lovecraft story, the original Lovecraft story is pretty small. It's the debate about whether something can be unnameable, and the reveal of the house, and then I think there's a quick scare at the end. And this is one where they do pretty much the Lovecraft story pretty close. They make the characters a lot younger. They do the Lovecraft story, and then they expand on it. I feel like if you were to take this movie and edit it down to probably like only 20-30 minutes, you could get a pretty much exact adaptation of the story. It's adapted and then expanded. So this is actually pretty close to the original. I have to give that major pros. Now there of course are some flaws with this movie. One is the editing, and I don't really want to trash on the editor, and I know it's a hard job and you really have to work with what you got, but there are a few weird places. There's one where the monster's killing someone, and then it cuts to people in the hallway and they see the monster, like one of those quick swipes of it, like a black shadow moving, and then it cuts back to the monster killing the guy again. And I'm like, wait, so did the monster kill the guy, run out into the hallway, then run back into the room to finish killing the guy? It's just a weird little mistake, and I get you have to have the pacing flowing, but logically it doesn't work. And there's also the beginning part. You see the science major go into the building to spend the night, and then you have this long scene at the library. Then it cuts back, and you get to see what happens to him in the haunted house, but that whole scene at the library takes some time, and then when it cuts back to him at the haunted house, you feel like a significant amount of time has passed when really this would have happened right after that previous scene, and it makes it feel like the character just ran up to the door and then waited there for like 20 minutes while you had that other scene. And I get, you have to have the movie flow right, and the exposition needed to come first before that scene, but it just felt like that should have taken place the other way around. I don't know, I get you have to have pacing right. And then there is the kind of weird stairwell scene that gets brought up. It's just a shot, really. He starts to walk up the stairs, and then he pauses, and then walks back down, and then he hears a scream and walks back up again. He runs, and I'm like, what's with that shot? I was watching it, I was like, that's kind of weird, and I saw, some other people talking about it. And I'm like, why didn't they just cut the shot to just that end part, where it's just him hearing the scream and running up the stairs? Why did he go up and then go down again? There's a few weird moments like that, and I guess it is what it is. This is before you could look at your footage so quickly, and probably has something to do with what footage was available, I'd imagine. Other than that, though, it is a very cheesy movie, and that's not going to be for everyone. Some of the acting's kind of cheesy, some of the kills are kind of cheesy. It's kind of, the wandering around a haunted house aspect, kind of cheesy. But then again, though, I feel like that's actually something that, for the right crowd, myself included, really does make this movie really charming. You gotta love a cheesy haunted house movie. And this movie, yeah, it's not great, it's not perfect, but it is pretty fun. I mean, like I said, it's a much smaller scale, not a bunch of stuff happens, and it's pretty minimal in its plot line, but even though it doesn't have the budget to do giant crazy things, and you don't see the monster on camera that much, is somehow, despite it not doing a whole lot, it somehow, at least for me, works. It's cheesy, but if you're the cheesy movie crowd, I would recommend this. It's pretty fun to find there. So if you're Lovecraft fans, probably check this out. But if you're cheesy movie fans, check this out. It's fun, And anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping this channel out. Other than this, including this, I do primarily horror movies on this channel. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'd recommend sticking around. I'll put a relevant playlist at the bottom. It should be my playlist to all the H.P. Lovecraft movies I reviewed so far. And there's some cool stuff on it. I covered Color Out of Space recently, the new Nicolas Cage one. So anyway, relevant playlist at the bottom. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon.